The Renault Duster Turbo boasts of a power output that's closer to 200 PS than it is to 100 PS. Well, just by a little bit. But that still makes it the most powerful petrol turbo in the segment, and it's even more powerful than cars like, well, the Audi A3 for example. And ever since I saw it in Auto Expo 2020, there's just been one question I've been dying to know the answer to. How quick is it? So 156 PS and 254 Newton meters of torque, either paired with a 7-step CVT or the 6-speed manual. The Renault Duster Turbo really wins the spec wars, at least on paper. But let's see what it can do in the real world. So, the Duster Turbo really is a lot of fun, and power comes in a nice big dollop, and that tends to break traction. So you have a lot of torque steer, and it is quite exciting launching off the line. In the real world, it's pretty fast too. So about 10.2 seconds to 100 kilometers per hour. But it's not quite as fast as either the Kia Seltos or the Hyundai Creta. And that's more down to that big dollop of torque that comes in. It breaks traction when you're trying to launch off the line. And well, that kind of spoils the launch just a little bit. And that probably accounts for that loss in time. And when it comes to third and fourth gear acceleration as well, it also lags a little behind in both the Seltos and the Creta. So, it may not win a drag race, but 156 horses still are exciting. And what this performance translates to in the real world is this. In the city, around 1300 to 1500 RPM, things happen fairly slowly and gently. So it's easy to drive in the city. And the engine only really wakes up around the 2000 RPM mark. That means that if you're driving around in third, you may need to shift down a gear for a quick overtake. Or the other option is you drive around in one gear lower than you usually would to keep the engine in its sweet spot. In terms of refinement, the engine is nice and smooth. Yes, there are a few vibrations that creep in at idle through the accelerator and the brake pedal, but otherwise there's nothing much else to complain about. And that's going to be the trend with this all-petrol lineup for the Duster for 2020. The other engine, of course, being the 1.5 litre naturally aspirated engine from before. And while the diesel engines will be missed, what previous diesel Duster owners will love is this new lighter clutch on the petrol. It again keeps city driving smooth, and driving around in traffic is much less of a pain now with this. But it isn't really perfect, and there's a little lack of feeling, so you can't really find that bite point. And I have to admit, I have stalled the car a couple of times driving around in traffic. But the advantage is that with the start-stop system, if you just punch in the clutch when you do stall, it immediately restarts the car. So quickly, in fact, that people around you wouldn't have realized your mistake. And that 6-speed gearbox is nice and slick shifting, and the ratios are nicely spaced out. So at highway speeds, 6th gear, 100 kilometers per hour, the engine is ticking away just at 2000 RPM, the sweet spot. So for a quick overtake, all you need is a prod on the throttle. No shifting down. And it's on the highway that the Duster is still at home, munching miles effortlessly, with that ride quality isolating the cabin from everything on the road. Potholes, speed breakers, broken roads, well, no roads. Whatever you throw at it, it really does just gobble them up. That ride quality was one of the things that we really loved about the Duster, and it still holds true today. Both in the city, over bad roads, or on the highway, it keeps things really smooth and, well, effortless, allowing you to spend long hours in this cabin without much fatigue at all. So that pretty much covers all the mechanical changes in the 2020 Duster. So let's take a break and see what's changed on the inside here. And as you can see, the interiors of the Duster haven't changed much for 2020. The only one thing that does stand out a little bit is this blue stitching on the fabric upholstery for the seats. Other than that, it does cover the basics. So you get an analog digital driver's information display. There's quite a bit of information on that digital display. So you have range, trip, mileage, but again, it's a monochrome display, old school, nothing fancy. The touchscreen itself has Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Again, it's quite small and the angle isn't quite right to view, especially in bright sunlight. And it's not the snappiest system we've used either. Again, in terms of features, you get automatic climate control, yes, the touchscreen display, but nothing fancy. So there's no sunroof, no connected car tech. There is remote car cooling and that works from the key fob, but it's a bit of a hit and miss and we haven't really figured it out. We've had the car for 3 days and we haven't really got it into work 100% every time. The other thing that the Duster was, well, infamous for was the cabin quality, and everything is, well, hard plastics everywhere. The only soft touch places are the leather-wrapped steering wheel, fabric armrest and a fabric door pad. Other than that, everything is hard plastic. There also are a few ergonomic issues. Some are old, like the footwell having not enough space for your left leg to sit comfortably. And there are some new ones as well. So on the steering wheel, while you do have controls for cruise control on the steering wheel, they're not all on the steering wheel. So the button to switch on and off cruise and speed limit is over here on the dash. And that's a little odd because there is actually space on the steering wheel left for more controls. And the other thing is that there is height adjust to the driver's seat. But while I can drop the seat down, if I want to lift it back up again, I have to get out of the car to do it. In terms of pricing, the Turbo is almost 2 lakhs dearer than the 1.5 litre petrol engine. And you need to ask yourself if the jump in price is really worth the jump in performance. But with the prices of the competition moving upwards, the Duster, even at an asking price of 12 lakhs for this manual RX-Z variant, is the least expensive in the segment, which includes the likes of Kia's Seltos, Hyundai's Creta, and the Nissan Kicks. To distinguish the Turbo, Renault has added a few red accents on the outside. So you get this red Duster logo on the roof rails, so red accents on the alloy wheels, and on the face you get a few splashes of red as well. Here above the fog lamps and there on the left hand side of the grille. And that just about sums up the biggest changes to the Duster 2020 package. It still has all those positives that we liked about it before. That creamy ride quality, those traditional SUV looks, and of course the great driving position and visibility that it affords as well. When it comes to safety, the Duster again covers the basics, with dual airbags, ESP, hill start assist and reverse parking sensors. The Renault Duster made a big splash when it arrived in 2012, and we all gushed over its ability to flatten out rough roads and munch miles on the highway. And it still excels in those regards. But the competition has not just caught up, they've driven off into the distance when it comes to features, cabin quality and ergos, leaving the Duster rather irrelevant for a majority of buyers in the segment. Is this punchy turbo petrol enough of a boost to keep this compact SUV relevant till a whole new generation of Duster arrives in 2023? What we do know is this: at 12 lakhs for this, the manual turbo variant, it undercuts both the options from Kia and Hyundai lineups by a big chunk of change. And it's even less expensive than its country cousin, the Nissan Kicks. So if you're looking for the thrill of a punchy turbo petrol, love doing long drives down the highway, and don't mind a car without too many frills, then the Duster Turbo Petrol is definitely worth a look.